Hello, and thank you for joining the Jordan and Travis channel. Now, what we're doing here is we're making chocolate chip cookies. Now, chocolate chip cookies, of course, is an easy recipe, but not everybody fully understands how to cook. Now, as I was growing up, cooking was always a very fundamental part of learning. It wasn't until college that I actually had to implement it and learn new skills. When I got into college, I realized how expensive eating out every single day, whether it's Taco Bell, Cheddar's, Red Lobster, wherever it is, you can easily blow $200 a week just to feed yourself. And a lot of times, students might work a food industry job that could actually get them through that, but when they do not, then it can be quite a hassle. Now, of course, like I had reiterated earlier, we'll be making chocolate chip cookies today. I think it's very important for college students to understand how to make something simple like this. College students is going to be our main targeted bracket because they are the people that are going to have the biggest opportunity to have people come over. They're in large groups. And who doesn't love having a game night with chocolate chip cookies there? So here I want to go ahead and introduce to you the Travis and Jordan channel. And he and I are going to lead you guys through how to make these chocolate chip cookies. So have a great time. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Travis. I'm going to be assisting Jordan in making these cookies. So right here we have our ingredients, as you can see, which includes the sugars, eggs, vanilla, baking soda, butter, chocolate chips, and flour. So I'll put this back here so we can start doing the process. Step one, of course, was to preheat the oven, which we've already done. It's set to 375 as per the recipe. After that, we're going to go ahead and move over and start adding our sugars to our mixing bowl. Today, we're going to be using a KitchenAid mixer, but if you don't have that at home, you're more than welcome to use a hand mixer and a mixing bowl. This just happens to be easier for this purpose. So, add in those. And we also need to go ahead and add in the butter, which was melted. That's very important. It has to be in liquid form. And add that in. Put the little bowl here. All right, now we will start mixing. Now the recipe says it's important to make sure that the mixture is light in color. So we'll let it mix until it gets to that point. It's gonna get a little loud, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this take over.
Now, like we said, not everyone has access to a KitchenAid. He and I are actually very big foodies, and so for us, having a KitchenAid mixer was very important to us to be able to actually cook things at a faster process. And as you're noticing, our liquid is actually thickening up, allowing it to have a better consistency. It's also gotten lighter in color, so we're going to go ahead and stop the mixing at this point and move on to the next step. Now, next is the vanilla and the eggs. So here we're using 2 large eggs and a teaspoon of vanilla. Kind of one thing I want to let people know, because some people are allergic to certain kinds of things, including eggs. There are other alternatives, including like applesauce and mashed bananas. However, if you're going to do that, make sure that you look into how that'll affect the recipe and what other modifications might need to be made. So we're going to go ahead and add in our eggs, add in our vanilla, and mix until smooth. It's also important to know that you need to start at a lower speed and not immediately go into high speed, especially with eggs, because you don't want stuff getting flung around. So we're going to slowly increase that. All right, looks pretty smooth to me. So next we're going to go ahead and do our dry ingredients, which for this recipe is just going to be baking powder and flour. So we'll go ahead and add that over to our mixing bowl. Now this step can vary. For example, some recipes may have you add different kinds of spices for different kinds of cookies, and that's why this is important. This particular recipe is only 2, so it's a little bit different. But we're just going to go ahead and make sure those are mixed together evenly and properly. And of course, like we had stated before, there's plenty of alternatives to anything. For example, I'm not a huge fan of cow milk. And of course, we go back and forth on that because a lot of recipes actually require you to have a particular type of milk. I prefer soy or even oat, but definitely just go ahead and do further research to make sure that doesn't affect other things in your recipe.
All right, so here we're gonna kind of slowly add it to the dough mixture until it starts to form a cookie dough. Here we're not gonna wanna have it at too fast of a speed because you can see quickly it rapidly changes into more of a dough-like texture. So yeah, we'll let this go just a few more seconds and then we are done. All right. Now comes the fun part of getting it off this thing. All right, so you can use kind of any kind of kitchen utensil to clear off your mixer. This is kind of where maybe a hand mixer comes in a little bit better hand because it's not so intricate. So here you can see there's still some flour left. We're just gonna kind of gently fold it with our wooden spoon just to kind of get everything mixed together. Go ahead and grab the chocolate chips. All right, y'all. So we're just gonna kind of get it folded where it's smooth like this. We have this nice even dough. And last but not least, it's time to add the chocolate chips. So today we're gonna actually be using white chocolate chips, but you are welcome to use whatever kind you want, whether it's dark chocolate, milk chocolate, semi-sweet, whatever your heart desires. So we'll add those in, and then we're gonna go ahead and just gently fold them into the dough. One thing to also know is that you can use as much or as little chocolate chips as you would like. It's totally your call. Some people even add different kinds of nuts if that's your thing. Walnuts, pecans, even peanuts if you're into that. And you can do, like I said, just do all kinds of different mixes here.
Alrighty, and of course, with any kitchen, we always have very wonderful visitors. As we get a visit from Momo the cat, he loves to watch from above.
All right, now that it is folded, we'll try to get as much of this dough into the bowl as we can, and go ahead and get ready to transfer it over to the baking pan. So here we have kind of two different options on how you can do this. So one pan we have a pre-done silicone mat. You can also use parchment paper, or on this other pan we've pre-sprayed it with cooking spray. Like I said, so however you want to do it. So we're going to go ahead and get a spoon and get ready to start scooping our cookie dough. So it's important to try to get a nice even size when it comes to doing this. You don't want some cookies that bake faster and some that bake slower. So the size isn't really too important, just that they're even size. So for this, cookie, we're gonna kind of do something along this.
And of course, one of the most important thing is food safety. Now, of course, he did wash his hands before doing that, but sometimes I like to have a little fun and just dig on in.
If you're one of those people that's not too big of a fan of getting your hands dirty, you can also spray a spoon with cooking spray and the dough won't stick to it, so you can scoop it that way. I've even seen some people use an ice cream scoop as well. So like I said, there's just different ways of doing things depending on your, how you want to do it. So, all right, this one's full. We're gonna go ahead and move on over to the other one. Another important thing is to make sure you have even spacing, because you don't want any of your cookies to touch and you get like a super cookie. You don't want that, because again, that's going to affect baking times and different things, and you don't want unevenly baked cookies.
Exactly.
Oops. All right. So,
and we have a lot of extra cookie batter today. But what's awesome about that is that it's always available for you to go ahead and just get a good Tupperware. And you can definitely go ahead and just throw that in the freezer. And that way you have cookies for later. Let's say you have a group of 10 friends coming over on Monday and maybe 6 coming over on Friday. That way you don't have to keep, remaking that cookie batter. It is available for you to keep using. Let's see, wonderful. And like we said before, definitely make sure that we have good spacing. Let's see, let's get that one a little smaller. Yeah, it's like, for example, this was a bit too big. So there's another small one that's right here. Let's go ahead and take a little bit off of this one and share it. Because sharing is caring, especially in cooking.
Yes, sir.
I'm kidding, I hate sharing my food, by the way, but let's take a look. Alrighty, now that we have that done, we can go ahead and take off our gloves. Throw them away. Oh, yikes. And we also want to make sure we wash our hands. That's very important.
In between the different steps and things, you don't want any contamination. All right, so as you can see, we have both of our cookie sheets. This one's done evenly with equal size. And same thing here. We have all of them lined up. Again, don't worry too much about trying to be overly perfect. Just try to get an even size, something, that's close.
And like we said, of course, we'll be throwing these in the oven, and, we are not going to necessarily record the entire time that they are in the oven. But some of the highlights that we do want to point out, cooking can be done by anybody. Of course, these step-by-steps can be done, using what we showed you, or there's a lot of online tools as well to be able to help you find just the perfect cookie for you. Of course, cookies aren't it. There's pastas and hundreds of other things to be able to cook. I always quote the famous Disney movie Ratatouille. Though it may be lame, it is still very relevant. Anybody can be a cook, though I did come from a family of people that can cook. Not everybody does. It wasn't until the last year and a half where I really got a knack for it, especially where I might just download my favorite app like Yummy and figure out what I want to cook that day. And so it's always fun, especially when inviting friends over. You would be very surprised. People within the age bracket of 20 to 29, a lot of them cannot cook, and they're very amazed when people can do so. So like Travis had showed you guys, we definitely don't want to be too overly careful about them spreading out, because worst comes worst, we always take a good old spatula and be able to split them up. So now we can go ahead and put them in the oven. All right, if you want to open the oven for us.
All right, so now we're going to want to go ahead and set a timer. This particular recipe says about 10 to 12 minutes. One thing, again, with this stuff to consider is that everyone's oven is different, so it's best to go ahead and make sure that you're constantly kind of checking in on the cookies. What I like to do is set like a 9 to 10 minute timer and pretty much just check on them and see. The best way you can tell if they're done or not is in the middle. If it still looks wet or kind of gooey and the outsides are not, harder or baked more, just give them more time. Give them another minute or two. Just kind of keep checking in on them until they look about an evenly set across the whole cookie. All right, well, now they're in the oven, so we're just going to let them bake, and then we will be back with y'all once they're out of the oven. So see you soon.
Really quick before we go though, Travis, I know that you actually have a peanut allergy. So when it comes to ingredients that do involve peanuts, how do we avoid that? How do we look into that? That way we don't get you in trouble.
Well, kind of like I was saying earlier, so peanuts nuts in general in most cooking is pretty optional. There's always alternatives, or just you can just omit them. Kind of what I was getting into more earlier about like people that don't want to eat eggs. Like if you have a vegan friend, you can definitely go and use, like I said, applesauce or mashed bananas. But again, those will alter the different levels of that recipe, so you'll definitely have to make some changes to that recipe. Also, flour. Some people are gluten intolerant and they cannot have gluten. So at that point, you want to use almond flour and stuff like that. Again, the biggest thing is just to kind of consult that recipe or even the internet and just see how is that going to affect the baking, how is that going to affect the recipe, and what other modifications do I need to make in order to make that change.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is just do one for one and something come out wrong, and then you have a messed up thing.
Exactly. Well, we do thank you guys for watching us here on live stream. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions, comments, something else you want us to cook, just go ahead and comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.